That move mechanic, I think, is incredibly valuable. It's not the Penny Parker getting the plus energy. It's the spider, especially if that merge reactivates the ability. If it does that, this is the best card of the season.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Marvel Snapcast podcast. I'm your host here, STG, with our co-host, the one and only It's Guest Gaming. And we have some awesome guests with us. Of course, the one and only Bradcifer, my fellow Tampa Buccaneers fan here. And of course, the one and only, the Iceman himself, the Golden Goose, Prashaun. Welcome on in. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yes, I know you guys are missing someone, the top five. He's top fiving something else, so he'll be back next week. Nonetheless, we're going to dive into some awesome things. We got some awesome things to discuss today, starting with, of course, Gore. We're going to talk about Galacta, Lunar Snow, the December season of Marvel Snap, what cards we think would be best in Marvel Snap. Will be best in Rivals from Marvel Snap. Yeah. And then we'll leave it off with something fun at the very end. So to kick things off, of course, we didn't get to talk about Gore last week. It was the Thanksgiving holiday over in the States. So we did enjoy the time with our families. I hope you guys did as well. And going into last season in the podcast, Gore was my diamond card of the season. So for those who are here, both Bradcifer and Prashaun, the way we rate our cards is we start the lowest is, of course, plastic. Then, of course, up after that, we have silver. Then we have gold. Then we have platinum. And then we have diamond, right? The reason why we do that is because sometimes we think a card is pretty good. It could be it could be double gold, double platinum. If we think it's trash, it could be double plastic, right? So these are things that we normally do and talk about here. So we always pick, sometimes we pick more than one, but for this case, we picked our diamond card, the best card this season, and I picked Gore. So after playing Gore, finally, my review on it, it stands. It is the diamond card of last season. It was the best card. I had a blast, and a lot of people did as well. And I think Gore is shining even more now with the new season starting because nobody's running Rogue anymore. So, Prashaun, how do you feel about Gore? What's your take? Would you rank it?
I think he's maybe a platinum. It depends on what meta you're in. Like currently, hang on.
It really depends on some of. I know what you're trying to say, though. It's certain metas are thriving better, right?
Yeah, for sure. So the last meta worked out totally fine with Gore, but this meta currently right now with Galacta, not Galactica, Battlestar Galactica, when you have cards like Angela and you have other move pieces to like Nocturne and stuff like that, it doesn't work well with Gore. But when the meta is on reveal heavy, yes, it works perfectly.
Okay. Bradcifer, how do you feel about it? What's your score, your ranking?
I feel like it has to be minimum platinum with potential of diamond, just because dodging Rogue is pretty easy most of the time because I think Rogue is such a very niche meta play that you have to shoehorn into your deck that oftentimes is just bad. Because no one's just going to have Rogue chill in their deck for just fun, typically. Because when you're making your decision of what tech cards you want to have to be able to combat most metas in a generic level, Rogue's never that option unless you're seeing nothing but ongoing. And even then, when you have top decks that are representing ongoing, it's never like 4 different decks. It's always like 1 or 2. And I think Gore would be that 1 or 2. So it's always going to have an option to thrive in whatever meta. And that's either as a piece of course, negative, because it's really good in negative, of course. And even just simple other ongoing stuff, ongoing shells. You could even do it in your typical like Spectrum stuff as remember we used to have the backup plan for the Spectrum Destroyer being Destroyer, or even people were trying, what was it, Orca for a time as well?
Yeah.
Now you can just do Spectrum Gore instead for that kind of shell. I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff you can do with him, and he's just too flexible as an ongoing card and too many different decks and archetypes that can go in.
All right, that's fair. All right, so double platinum on your end. Guess, of course, how do you feel about Gore?
I gave him, just like you, I gave him a diamond rating as well. and going into last week. And after playing him out, I don't think we've seen the best of Gore yet. Everyone's talking about like, oh, Gore, was such an incredible high ceiling on this card, depending on what you're playing against, of course. Some games it's like a 6/5 and other games it's like in the 20s. And
yeah,
I think that obviously everybody, the week that a card comes out, you're trying to maximize it. You're playing into the curve. You're forcing the thing to happen, right? And negative obviously is just an organic fit for the card right now. And no matter what you do to the card, unless if you change the pluses that come from the card, it's not going to go it doesn't look like they're going to be changing it anytime soon to like -3, -4, which is what I originally thought they were going to have to drop it down to because it was incredibly powerful. But the negative shell in particular, I think, is actually worth accenting on this card because it makes negative stronger, but does not increase the win rate of negative. It increases specifically how confident you are going into that final turn 6 earlier, more often than not, versus some of the other play lines you would sacrifice in exchange. And the fact that negative is its most prominent home is also why its win rate is still 49 to 51%, depending on when you look at the statistics. So the card right now looks like it's not performing meta crazy good because the best shell for it is negative. But I think a month from now, it will move up from being the double platinum card that it is to become the problem card that we kind of expect it to be, because people will fall off of it and they'll be like, aha, remember that thing? Yeah, let's go ahead and play that now. And everybody and their sister is now like, well, we just got gored. And that's what I expect. I expect this to be a January diamond card. I was hoping it was going to be a December diamond card. I don't think it's going to happen this season. Looking at the cards that are even coming out, I just a lot of the shells I don't feel are going to be perfect for it. So I'm leaning more into this being a very good card. If you got it, you're not going to be upset about it. But it is at the moment probably somewhere between platinum and double platinum. But it will only get better with time.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Can I tell you what home it should be in instead of negative, and what home would actually make it a diamond card when people start fine tuning it correctly?
Try me.
Thanos.
No, I've tried. Look, that was the first thing I went towards.
Better than Thanos, though.
Yeah, I went hard on Thanos as well. I thought Thanos was a great. It's a no-brainer shell. You've got all these ones on the board. There's 4 of them have on reveals, and the thing that made Thanos not feel good, at least this month, the thing that made it not feel good was the fact that most of the other cards that you want to run with Thanos actually aren't on reveal.
You're building the wrong way. Thanos Zoo.
Okay.
Gilgamesh is on reveal.
Right.
Yeah.
You have all the stones. Then you can do your little small stuff as well. Like you can throw in some other on reveals just to kind of tie it to get that nice number, that plateau point of like what makes most sense as far as percentage goes. You still have Marvel Boy, which may not be on reveal, but phenomenal in the deck nonetheless. And what makes Gore good and what makes a deck good is not going to be shoehorning it in somewhere that's going to be the only reason you're playing the deck. You want it to be good when you don't draw it as well. And Thanos Zoo is the best home, in my opinion, for that, because you have Gilgamesh as a nice big blow up play, but then you can still even follow up on Gore at the same rate. And of course, Mockingbird is still good in that shell as another way to fall back, just an extra 9 power. You don't need Gore to hit that ceiling of 20 power, but if it's consistently 10 and up at the very, if you could at least match Hulk at 12, then I think it's a good enough card to be in the deck, because the ceiling can go higher than that, but its floor is consistent enough to be warranted in the deck.
The comeback. Sorry, go ahead.
Too. Because with Thanos too, like you're getting all that card draw. So you're more unlikely to get the cards that you need. You might get that Gilgamesh, you might get that Mockingbird, you might get that Gore, compared to negative, where you're relying on hitting Mr. Negative on for playing Magic. That way you could prolong the game to get your combos, I think the Thanos build might be more reliable compared to a negative deck.
And Mystique is pretty interesting in Thanos Zoo as well, because you can have things like Khazar. You can have it, of course, be Gore as well. You can have it even do like some weird things with other of your stones, because sometimes you just need Mystique to hit the board as your on reveal card for Gore. So you might just hit it for one of the stones or something as well, just give you that extra little boost. I wish we still had original Soul Stone, but you know,
right?
Yeah,
but why Thanos? Why not just Zoo? I think I get because Thanos is in your hands, so you get that extra.
The stones gives you 5 on reveals.
4.
Yeah, but you can still do that with you got other. You got Squirrel Girl, right? You have it's 4, because the other 2 are ongoing, right? The Power Stone and the Soul Stone, or the
doesn't Soul have a cardigan? Didn't they give you a cardigan with that? With one of the recent updates? Yeah.
Didn't they drop it?
Oh, we gotta check and see. We could be wrong.
I'm having a brain fart. They've changed Thanos so many times now.
I know.
He's actually got 12 stones, or just have no idea about it. But,
we'll try that. But I like that.
But I do want to spin one thing to you, because Gore, one of my best decks, was just a straight up Zoo deck. I agree with STG on that, because Shauna was a huge player for Gore, because every 1-drop has a 50% chance of being on reveal based on the number of 1-drops that currently exist that she could populate. So plus Shauna's a non-reveal. So what Thanos gives in the spread of 6 stone or 5 or 4, whatever stones, Shauna just does all at once with 3 energy. And you just kind of
you would run Shauna in the Thanos Zoo deck, though.
You would too?
I wouldn't. That's a lot of weakness.
That's what I've always done with ever since Gilgamesh came out. I've always done Shayna with it.
This is interesting. Yeah, we're gonna definitely check that. We gotta test it out, because that just makes. We'll see how it goes. I do like the Thanos only for the thinning of the deck, kind of, right? Because it starts in your hand, but just a regular Zoo I think would also work. But nonetheless, we gotta try it out and see what happens. Galactica, right? So we would call it Galactica. No, it's Galacta. Make sure we say it correctly here. That's the new season pass card for this Marvel Rivals Snap season. And so far, we didn't give a pre-rating for it, but I did say it was going to be the best card this season, my favorite card this season, for the sole purpose that it buffs the Infinite, gives the Infinite his final buff. And playing it last night, climbing the ranks with this 80% win rate, just dropping a big 23 power Infinite in a lane to win it. All by himself was super awesome. But let's not say Infinite was the one that kind of made Galacta good. I mean, think about it. I put Kang in the deck and it's been phenomenal. So I like Galacta. I think she is the best card this season, but not only for the Infinite, but because of things like Surfer, things like Move. I think Galacta can go into any deck and just give that +3 and help out that card list. So for me, Galacta is my diamond card this season. Let's go back to Prashaun. How do you feel about Galacta?
I think it's a solid card. I reached Infinite pretty quickly with her. I was playing like a build from Safety Blade, where basically you're trying to play Galacta and you're playing Luna Snow. So you're cheating out your Professor X. Your Professor X gets buffed by the Galacta, and then you're playing like Hydra Bob. He gets buffed too. So I'm doing a lot of shenanigans with that, and the fact that she could buff all these cards is awesome. I've seen tons of Surf. I've seen tons of Move. Yeah, I think it's a very solid card. I haven't seen any Galactus builds yet. I thought there was going to be more Galactus builds whenever the card first came out, or at least people getting away with it, but they haven't. But overall, I think this is a solid season pass card, and I think it's what is it, Diamond? I think it's a Diamond.
Yes, card. There we go. I'm with you. All right, Brad, how you feel about it?
So let me ask you this real quick. When we're doing the rankings, is that relative to the season, or is it relative in terms of how you would grade a snap card in general?
It will be for the entire season out of all the other cards.
Okay. So a diamond in one season could technically be a plastic in another season, right?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I think probably going to be a diamond just because it's going to be the most consistent card. It's power cheating, anything that helps you win the game, which is just get more power than your opponent, especially on decks that want to just curve out. Or things as we get other cards like Doom 2099 or anything else like just Doctor Doom in general that spreads power to other spots on the board is always going to be really, really good. That being said, I think overall, in terms of Snap, it is a above average card, and that's it.
Oh, so we're going gold. You're just going right in the middle. Just a gold card.
Yeah, if I were to
season, but gold going forward.
Correct. I think it's good, but it's not like we've had better season pass cards and we've had especially better Snap cards.
Yeah, I think Agent Venom is probably the best season pass card we had this year. That's
we gotta I have to think back. We got to do that next week. Like, my brain's not ready for that question, man.
Agent
like,
Venom was so good. Well, pre-nerf, he was so good. But go ahead, guess. How you feel about?
I think I would agree. Just trying to do the Rolodex real quick of all the cards this year. Because like I hit infinite in like 2 hours with that deck. It was stupid. Just like
exactly.
Yeah.
So good. But that's why he got nerfed right away. But guess how do you feel about Galacta?
So I think that Galacta in her current state is right on that threshold of almost being too powerful. Almost. She's right there because her total power output is consistently 412. But then you also look at other cards like, okay, so we think about Ms. Marvel. Is that broken? Is it what did it take to get that condition to happen? They had to change her, I think, twice to get her to her current condition to justify her total power output. And I think at 412 right now in total power on average, I think that the card is like borderline needing to be considered for like her base power. Maybe I could see them justifying it in January, going down to like a 4 or 5. But that will only happen if we start seeing a load of Wasp play, because the second more and more people start playing Wasp into that deck, and you're playing her down on 4 with a Wasp, and now you're getting consistently 3 hits per game of the Galacta piece. If that starts to become like a meta of any kind, they will absolutely then address her in some way, because people have talked about it repeatedly about her. Okay, how long is it going to take before they change her? Because no card has survived having +3 written in its description in any way, shape, or form. Not one. Every single one has been changed.
That's sort of happening now with Luna. You're playing Luna, and then you're playing Galacta, and then you're playing like a Hydra Bob.
Right.
Yeah, there's crazy cool things that could happen that justify her possibly getting a change. I'm not saying right now in this first, couple of days that we've been messing with her that she's going to be, because if they were going to change a season pass mid-season, which we saw with Agent Venom, it was the only time I think it has ever happened for a season pass mid-season in a nerfing sense. We had Gilgamesh get buffed.
Yeah, early.
Surtur just got nerfed.
Surtur too.
Wasn't he? Oh yeah, you're right. He was like week 3 also. Yeah, but actually that's the same conversation. It's if they were to do it, it would be in like week 3 or week 4 of the month, and that's the holidays, which means it's not going to happen, which means it wouldn't happen until January anyway. So no matter what, this is the Galacta we have for at least 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
If they were to do any changes to the card. But it is right there at almost being like, hey, this is a problem. No, it's some decks. It could be considered a problem. But I think 4/6 is just that. You think of your standard 4/6s in the game, and cards like to be 4/5 with a weird mechanic or 4/7 with a potentially negative mechanic. This, for some reason, is a 4/6 with the good mechanic. So I would not be surprised to see Galacta get changed to a 4/5 in the future, but she is still right now, in my opinion, better than Luna Snow. And that, my friends, is called a segue.
So Luna Snow, unless Brad, you wanted to say more about Galacta.
I just want to say real quick, maybe 4/5, I could see it. I will say I don't necessarily agree with the take about Wasp, because if you find it to be optimal to play Wasp in a deck just to get some type of first turn advantage with a card, then that's the same thing as saying that's the whole reason that Lockjaw was changed, which we both know it wasn't. It was the fact that you could do multiple cards at once, and then they changed it to once, just once per turn, and you still were sure to run Wasp in that kind of deck just to get that activation off rip. I don't think that's the indicator. Right. They put him back to like
which is crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I don't think that's the indicator. I think it's close. The fact that it has to be, maybe I could see them adding some extra type of restriction. What was the 2099 that's coming out? He says something about being alone, right? Or like playing it alone.
One card has to be played at a time before it does more bots.
So what if it was that?
It is right now only. Oh, you mean if she plays by herself, she can't buff until the next turn?
That, yeah. Like you have to just curve out,
right,
to give the buff, and then maybe you can toy around actually giving it 4 power instead, because you're forcing someone to just play one card at a time.
Well, if you're doing that,
you keep it a 4/6 at that point.
Yeah,
right.
I don't. If they do that, that's too aggressively nerfing the card. If it's going to restrict you to one card per turn to just get that +4 on that card and then play that by itself, I think that kills the card entirely. You still need the flexibility to play multiple cards, even if you're putting down just like an Iceman on turn 5 and playing that down as a 1/5, and then whatever else you want to play onto that. That's the strength of the card. Is just extra Hulk busters, basically, is how I look at it.
Sure. I look at her like I would try to change her in a way, if I were to change her, something similar to Miss Marvel, where there is that restriction of like, this is how much power you get overall, and she's a fixed amount, 5 power each other lane if she's in the middle. Yeah. So her ceiling is the same exact as her floor if you're just playing based on the criteria of the card. And I think that's where this card potentially could get out of control, because it doesn't have that, that kind of check and balance built into it.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, the fact that she's a 4 cost, I think is perfect, because if she's a 3 cost, it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Because we can frigger, we can do a lot of foolishness. So I think they really thought about it, because her being a 4 cost is perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, right now, I don't think it's a big problem, but I do see what you guys are saying. As for Luna Snow, I played this card probably the least I've ever played any new card. And I think for me, I'm giving her a double silver. We do have other cards that ramp up right now. I think Luna Snow might be fun in a zoo deck probably, or something to that extent. I mean, I played her with Electra. Give me reason to play Electra now, right? To destroy my opponent's iceberg or ice. But yeah, other than that, I go double silver for her. She's not quite a gold card yet, or I don't think she will be. Nonetheless, Prashaun, how do you feel about Luna?
I think Luna's a gold card. Anytime you could get extra energy out on the board, of course, that's a good thing. But the fortunate thing is your opponent gets the extra energy too, which is a bad thing. But I feel like with this card too, there's a lot of Red Guardians coming out that are just hitting me right after, and I feel like Red Guardian is going to be a key card, especially with Bruce Banner too in the future. So there's going to be tons of that. But overall, I think she's okay. Like, she's helped me win plenty of games. But I was playing Galactica with Galacta.
Whoever that is.
Galacta?
Yeah.
Galacta with Luna Snow. So I'm pretty sure it was probably more Galacta winning me the games than Luna Snow. So I stick with the gold rating.
Gold, okay. Bradcifer, how you feel about it?
I'm
with you.
Gut initially says gold. Probably because I think it's, again, the only thing that puts it there is the fact that it's any type of energy cheat, and you always have to be cautious about being too low on something that's potentially energy cheating. or I guess even be too aggressive. I still think Hope Summers is an egregious card and bad for the game overall. But that's a completely different topic, just because it's repeatable over and over. And I don't think enough people are playing Hope Summers personally. I thought that ever since she came out. This card is not Hope Summers, though. You get a little extra power, but you do give it some a symmetrical effect. And giving a symmetrical effect in a card game is always what makes a card kind of eh. If it was asymmetrical and you only got the energy, or she gave you a crazy amount of power, like she was a 310, and you gave your opponent the energy, something like that, then I would be more interested in her. But because it's symmetrical and because your opponent has the ability to make use of it just like you do, though you have the agency of that game plan, is what puts her just at gold for me. And that's about it.
That's fair. All right. What about you? Guess how you feel about Luna?
I think the thing that I like most about Luna is that she has reinvigorated my interest in Professor X, because we have seen Nocturne and Jeff fall way off. And I mean, think about the last time that you saw them at 20+% like they used to be in play rate, or 15% plus play rate. And I think the Luna Professor X synergy is something that's very, very intriguing to me, because it's just an incredibly strong mechanic to be able to get Prof X down on turn 4. And now we have other cards that we can really mess with that as well. You know, play in the Ms. Marvel on turn 5 if you need to get some extra power in there. Why? Because you can. Like there's a lot of cool things that can happen because of it. And then you guarantee the iceberg, the rock, the shiny rock, whatever, staying alive, and it won't destroy, and you keep getting the energy. That was something that I will say did surprise me with the card, was I didn't realize the ordering of the ice and the breaking and all of that would be on turn 6, that you can fill the lane on 5, get the energy for turn 6, and then it destroys it prior to your play. So it opens up that spot on turn 6. And I think that needs to be investigated more on how to capitalize on that best also. Things like, Juggernaut, for example, being able to capitalize on that spot would be huge. But I don't think people are just doing that yet. I think Luna Snow she's a gold card right now, but I think it's because of Galacta, where so many people, like all of us are, we were all talking Galacta, like fantastic card, great card. Oh yeah, then there's this Luna thing. I just don't think we're paying enough attention to Luna yet to learn how to capitalize on what she's already doing. So I think a 2-drop and Luna in the same lane, followed by Professor X, is a strategy to keep an eye on that would very likely come back into the meta, because move cards have kind of disappeared in that sense. You have move, which is still very good, but if you do it in the right lane, it won't really matter, because they're not really doing too many of those mechanics in the right lane. They're trying to do them typically mid and left. So I think that she's a gold card right now, but I want to figure out what's going to break her, because something will.
Yeah, I want to test her out tonight.
Nebula, stuff like that are coming back too. Yeah. I put Nebula in the right lane, then I'll play like whatever I need to play. I'll play like Hydra Bob or something, play Luna Snow. Then I play Professor X in that right lane with Nebula, Luna Snow. I have the extra energy. I set it and forget it. And then I'm basically battling it out in other lanes. I'm either using like Elias or Magneto to move cards around. I also have Jeff. It's very unique how some of the cards are coming back because of these new cards.
I'm definitely going to test it out tonight. My mindset was more so putting Red Hulk in my list so that my opponent can't use their power. My Red Hulk gets buffed. So that's kind of where I was heading with it. But I do like the Professor X idea. So we'll see. But I still think double silver for me currently. And then, of course, we go and dive into the rest of the December cards. Of course, starting with we have, of course, Bruce Banner, which I think is going to be phenomenal. Doom 2099. And of course,
please tell me you're kidding. No. I'm stopping you right there. Did you just say Bruce Banner is going to be incredible?
Yeah, it's going to be a great card. Yes.
Ass. Double plastic.
I'm
Okay,
right there with you, Brad. Hang on. Stop the podcast. Stop the podcast.
Let's
start right now.
Go, Brad.
Let me give you my thing.
Brad first. Brad, let's hear it.
Okay.
What's your take?
Here's the thing. It's a double plastic card that everyone's going to think is going to be a double diamond card because they're going to look at a 2-1 and be like, oh my God, it can be a 2-1 that can become a 2-12 easily. There's too many different counters for it. Like Red Guardian was one we talked about earlier. And the card itself is a counter for it. Any card that you give the chance to just lose on, it's a 25% chance of becoming the Hulk, but it's a 75% chance of not doing anything at all. And it just ends up being a 2-1 for you. How often do you have Danger Room pop up and you're like, I'm not playing anything on that until I need to, because you're not going to take the risk of having your turn not mean anything. When you play a 2-1 here that doesn't do anything for the entirety of the game, 75% of the time, it's not a good card. But people are going to be tricked into thinking it's a good card because they're going to have that one game where Hulk pops out and it wins you by 1 point. And you're like, there you go. Prove my entire bias. It is a bad card. It's ass. Anything that gives you chance and doesn't guarantee its own stats in any card game is bad, and you should not be running it ever.
Okay. Prashaun, what do you feel about Bruce Banner?
Yeah, I sort of feel the same way. I feel like there's too many cards that counter it. I feel like you have to play this card and then immediately like play a Cosmo behind it. That way it doesn't get crushed by Red Guardian. I think High Evo is going to be back for a week just because of this card, just by the potential.
And Spotlight. That's why.
Yes. And he's in the Spotlight. So if you don't have High Evo already, this is your chance to get that 25% chance of getting your Hulk on the board too. But I don't know. I feel like I want to play like Moon Girl and then like,
too. Yep, I'm with you. Frigga, yeah. I'm thinking about having a whole board.
Frigga, like I do want to do the flashy stuff where I'm like, I hulked out on you and I won. But I just feel like there's going to be chances, like games where it doesn't happen at all, or it just gets countered. So I think this is a gold card too, to be honest.
But we also have, I'm with you, gold card, exactly. We also have other things that can buff the card, like Galacta, right? Blue Marvel, right? We can give this card, make it a 2-5 on the board. Even if it doesn't flip, those 5 points will help us. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways we can do stuff with this card, I feel anyway.
Okay, if that was the case, then I feel like then Bucky would be seeing way more play because you have ways to buff Bucky Barnes, and sometimes you don't have your Destroy card to turn him into the Winter Soldier. Yeah, right. I hear you.
But Bucky isn't going to turn to Winter Soldier by himself. You have to do something with it. Out.
At least, but you also have. Sure, but you also have the opportunity cost of not spending energy. So anything that's not high Evo is automatically making this card even worse because you want something to be leveraged off of the downside of the card inherently because you need to not spend energy to have it do anything. So if you play this in any other deck besides a high Evo, then what are you doing with the unspent energy, especially when you see it, that 75% kick in where nothing happens? Now you wasted energy. You potentially buffed your opponent's Red Hulk, which is still a card that you see very much over the course of the meta, regardless of what you're seeing across the table, because it's a good card. And there's probably going to be more cards later on that get benefited from not spending energy. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
I think the whole thing with this card is you only ever consider getting this card if you have one of two cards, and that's High Evo and Luna Snow. That's it. Because you even alluded to it earlier when talking about, I'll play Red Hulk so they can't take advantage of all their energy. I'll take advantage of it. Well, that's kind of what this synergy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be playing down Bruce on 2, Luna on 3, and then continue your normal curve as is 4, 5, 6. Because now you're just skipping, and then it's like you just played a 3-5, and it is what it is. But the sacrifice to that is, okay, sure, you've given your Hulk 4 chances to go ahead and do his thing. Great. That's awesome. Fantastic. But you also gave your opponent 1 extra energy every single turn if you don't address it in any capacity. So I think what we end up seeing is like the only way, I should say, that we see this become successful is in Affliction Evo. That's it, because you have your counter, which is going to have Red Guardian. You're going to have the regular straight up curve. It wants to skip a bunch of energy organically, automatically. I think that's really the only home that this deck that this card has, and that deck is not that good, and this card will not make that a meta deck. Therefore, this is at highest, I'm going to say a silver.
All right, listen, we all got our picks. Gold,
Yeah.
double plastic, silver. All right, let's see what happens when the card comes out. I can't wait to revisit that. Then we have, of course, the card that is coming out next week, and that is our girl, Penny Parker. I think this card is going to be very interesting with all the cool mechanics it can do with that wonderful spider. I'm definitely going to give this card, for me, I definitely believe it deserves a platinum. I think Penny Parker is a platinum card, and with the spider being able to merge with cards and then move the next turn without even having to play like, kind of like Meek, and then spider's a 3/3. Definitely think this is a platinum card in my eyes. What about you, Prashaun? How you feel about Penny Parker and the spider?
Yeah, this is definitely a platinum card for me. I feel like I'm going to play some speed Wiccan shenanigans, just the way this plays on curve.
Ooh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, and I feel like this will fit in perfectly. I could probably take out Mirage or Cable and just put this card in and plug and play. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What about you, Bradcifer?
I do like the idea of Wiccan and like speed and stuff like that to take advantage of the guaranteed 2 into 3 curve. I don't know. I think it's going to be a solid card. I'm just trying to figure out if there's any, besides the Wiccan idea, I can't really think of any home for it off the top of my head that just screams like this is where you play this. This does feel like a potential build around. But at the same time, I don't know, is it generically strong enough to be like Kate Bishop, where you just kind of play it as your 2 cost in some decks and you're happy with what it gives you? I feel like if I'm comparing it to Kate's a better card overall. So I'm just struggling because that's who you're competing with in a generic capacity, right? Like Kate, or even like Jeff and stuff like that too. And I don't see her good enough to be a generically strong enough card for that. So I can only think of like a Wiccan style type of home for her. And even then, I don't know. Like, I wonder if she'd end up being one of the first cuts, because then you have to, I don't know. It's so weird because like that plus energy, could mess you up on Wiccan actually, right? Because if this merges on 3, then Wiccan on 4 doesn't work because you have 1 extra energy.
You can still play Wiccan as long as you play Wiccan.
Yeah.
On 4 and you have extra energy, he still works the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could just play Wiccan plus something else.
Yeah.
Well, do you have to play him with something else?
No, you don't.
No,
you can just play
Wiccan. Just Wiccan.
Okay.
Yeah. Prior to Wiccan, if it doesn't, it's a problem. But if you get on turn 4, if you have extra energy and you just play Wiccan on 4 and you still got energy left over, Wiccan still procs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because he has to be played. That's all.
Silver. She's a silver card.
Okay. All right. Listen, I hear that. I mean, I think probably even Move or Destroy could probably work with this card too. But either way, how do you feel? Yes.
I'm a big proponent of this being in contention for the best card of the month. I don't know. I don't know, Brad, where you're not seeing the value in this, but I think you need to go rewatch the dev announcement, because the fact that it's any merge mean there are multiple different ways that this card can proc and get extra energy on top of it. So it could be an Agony, it could be a Hulkbuster, it could be, this is going to be its own type of deck that's going to happen because of Penny Parker. You're going to get all this extra energy to work with. Again, Bruce Banner, like we talked about, this is another card that you might think about in that high Evo build because it's giving you that energy float. But the spider in particular coming on down, which, yes, that creates the merge, and you're probably targeting that for Penny. It doesn't have to be Penny. This can be played on any card, and then that becomes a movable card. The tech,
Sebastian Shaw or something. That's crazy.
Like the tech of that, of having a floatable card that next turn that you control without needing it to be like a
Discard,
meek situation where
right.
it's okay, this happened. No. Spider on reveal merges with something in the lane that you play it into, and then that piece you can move freely. That move mechanic, I think, is incredibly valuable and is not being talked about enough, just in general, about what this card is actually going to do. It's not the Penny Parker getting the plus energy. It's the Spider getting the, let me merge this to whatever and then do its thing, especially as we've seen with some merge cards before, if that merge reactivates the ability, because we don't know that yet.
Right.
That's what I want to see with Spider. Does the merge of Spider reactivate the ability? Because if it does, this is hands down the best card of the season. If it does that, this is the best card of the season. But if it doesn't,
Phoenix Force.
In what sense? Like,
if we destroy the Spider, can we destroy the Spider? That's the next question. Well, I guess you can if you play in an open lane and play Carnage next to it.
Yeah.
And then you play Phoenix Force the next turn. Then what happens? Can you Phoenix merge with other cards and start? Like, I wonder what kind of reaction that would be.
It's a lot of merging and a lot of energy, depending on what you're doing.
Around, right? Yeah.
Like,
okay, all right.
You can destroy, because that's something you could do too. You could destroy Penny Parker and then have it turn into the Phoenix Force. It turns in and merges that into Phoenix Force. That's a merge.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
So there are several different mechanics about this card, because this is a great 2-for-1 package. Great 2-for-1 package. You get a tech card in Spider, which is a movable ability, and then you get an energy ramp card. Granted, but you're building into that energy ramp. I think that this card should be sat on a little bit more. Wiccan is definitely its best home. Like, going into day one, if you're going to test anything, test Wiccan. Throwing Quicksilver, Penny Parker, boom, it gives you Spider. There's your Wiccan. Call it a day. Start playing out a whole bunch of stuff, especially because these are all on reveals. You can get Gore down. There's a lot of cool things you can do here. So I'm a big fan of this card. I'm most excited to test it out of any of the other cards this month.
Well, I just don't. When you figure out the deck list, let me know, because the issue I'm having with it is, if you don't play this on 3 as your curve out for like a Wiccan style deck, and you're not doing that, and you're doing something completely different, and you're trying to build around it, 3 energy is a lot harder to weave in on random turns, and is such a deck constraint if you're trying to leverage this to make it weavable. No pun intended, I guess. It is really difficult. It's really difficult to do, and I can see a lot of games where you want to play this card, the Spider, when you generate it, but you just end up being too awkward of like how you weave it into your turns, and you end up not playing it at all, and you never get advantage of that move option as well. The flexibility on paper, I agree, sounds great, but it being a 3 energy card and then thinking about all the other cards you want to pair with it, especially if you want to double down on the extra like merging abilities of Hulkbuster, Agony, and things like that, it just feels like there's so many moving parts. I like the idea of it having rule 3 for 3 different effects for Penny, but however else you build the deck is where I'm struggling to see the payoff for it, while also maintaining flexibility to be able to do a lot on the same game. That's my wonder and my worry.
Okay.
I sort of want to play this with Symbiote Spider-Man and try Galactic.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be a very interesting thing, man. Yeah. We really got to see if it does retrigger the on reveal, if it does a bunch of things. So we're going to see. And Penny Parker comes next week, so we'll know soon enough. And then of course, we have a Doom 2099. A lot of people love this card based on its ability, which is after each turn, add a Doombot 2099 to a random location if you played exactly 1 card. Now, the Doombot 2099 is ongoing, and it gives +1 power to Doom and any other Doombots on the field. So this is a very interesting card. I think, if old Sandman was here, this would be flawless. I think it's a good card to fill up lanes and do awesome ongoing things with it. To me, I think it's definitely a double gold in my eyes. How you feel about it, Prashaun?
I think this is gold too, because you're gonna have to think about board space.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's gonna be some Zabu shenanigans. They're gonna play like 2099 on 3 or something. And then like, it's like, what do I do next? Once the board is full, do you just try to play out what Spectrum and then maybe like an Onslaught somewhere. I think
I was
pretty
thinking
cool,
Onslaught and what's the other end? Tribunal.
Yeah, like maybe you could do stuff like that, but obviously I think it's too telegraphed for your opponent, and they could just end you. Like it looks cool, like we all love Doom. But even now in the meta, like Doom's lost. So what makes you think that this card's going to bring Doom back when, especially, the game has gotten so tall?
Agreed. Good point. Bradcifer, how you feel about 2099 Doom?
I think I'd have to actually sit down and do the math of like what the ceiling is on the card. If you can high roll it, like if you can like Zabu play it on 3 or do like Psylocke on 2, Doom 2099 on 3, and then start getting bots going as early as possible. I just don't know. Like the safe bet is gold. I think it could be platinum if the math works out for this like archetype. And then you can even do things like Madam Web and stuff like that to kind of like hedge bets on like that randomness of where they go. It's just hard to figure out. I'm gonna say gold to be safe, but this could be a platinum card, like just a good solid thing for the archetype. Sandman could still work. Sandman's not horrible. It's just it's not as backbreaking as it used to be, right? It's kind of like comparing old like original Miss Marvel to her current state. I'd love to have original Miss Marvel for just me playing. I don't want you guys having that. No, please don't. I want it. But it doesn't make her current state a bad card. So maybe you could still do like a Sandman ramp kind of thing. It's just, it's interesting. The math might work out for being consistent enough, but my gut tells me no. So gold.
All right. Guess how you feel about it.
I'm lower on this card than a lot of people. A lot of people are saying this is like their favorite card of the month and they're so excited for it. And I'm like, why? Like it has one good synergy, Dr. Doom, which is kind of a mid card right now. And the max you can get on it, if you ramp it out, your Doombot 2099s are going to be giving +4 in a standard 6-turn game for each of the Doom bots. So the only way to quote unquote max this thing out would be your favorite card, Hope Summers on 3, Doombot 2099 on 4, Dr. Doom on 5, Odin on 6. And that's how you put out multiple 5-power regular Doom bots that'll be getting +4s on them. That is the only way to do it. You have to go Zab, and it's a perfect curve to make it happen. But then even still, like if you get that curve to happen, great, that's awesome. You do you can even do the Zabu on 1 if you really want to go down that path. Go for it, have fun. But you're really at that point only getting +3s. So you're getting 8 on the high Doombot and you're getting 5 on the low Doombot 2099. I just don't think, to Prashaun's point, I don't think that this card goes tall enough. And it needs some help. It needs a location restrictor early. Like this would be good with Goose, for example. You need those location restrictor cards early on, like Goose, that allow other things to move into it later. The Madam Web call, I hate that you said that publicly already. I hate you. Because that I had that in my back pocket, but I love that because it's the one thing about Doom 2099 that really sucks. Those Doom bots land randomly. So if you can have a little control over it, then I mean you can build your board exactly how you need it. It's a card that presents a fun deck, but not a deck that will compete in the current meta game with Doombot and with the Doombot 2099s having the stats that they do. I think Doom 2099 and Doombot 2099 end up getting buffed in the future, which is the biggest reason why this card is a pickup. It gets to being a 4/4 and 4/4 in the future.
Yeah. Not only that, it's also like they've opened Pandora's box. This is them showing their hand and being like, we're probably going to give you another Doom card of some variety later on to support this archetype. Because you never just give 2 cards for an archetype and say, that's enough. We're not doing anything more than that. They'll give you something else. It might not be until a year from now, but they're going to have some other kind of Doom card in the background later on.
You have a movie coming in a few years.
I was about to say, Prashaun, help us out here. Prashaun, what do we got here? You're the one to ask on this.
I don't want to wait that long, though.
right.
It's a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's cool.
Hopefully it's a Doom that merge all the Doom bots together. That'd be nice, right?
What about negative or like Zola stuff? Even ignoring negative, just like Zola. Like, I'm thinking Zola like on like a Doom bot, not necessarily. I guess Doom 29 would be the same effect essentially, but Doom bot's easier to control because you don't have the space issue for Zola itself. I don't like, again, the math is weird on the card. And I think there's a way you can go Doombot early. You could probably do something like Wave and then like Doom Odin kind of thing, or Wong Doom, right? But then it feels like the juice isn't worth the squeeze at that point.
Correct.
Jumping through all these hoops.
One Enchantress messes up a whole lane. Like,
yeah.
And if you grandmaster that Enchantress, the other lane is done as well. Yeah. So it's just it's madness.
I would rather see if they do any rework first, besides doing obviously just buffing them like 3 or 4 power. I want to see Doombot 2099 change from ongoing to just a static ability. Your Doombots at the end of turn and Doom gain a power.
Shadow King.
Shadow King, sure. Yeah, I don't care. Shadow King one lane as opposed to shutting down all of them with an Enchantress.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what happens. Then, of course, we have Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot. Now, this card is very interesting to me. The fact that it can move once after the opponent plays the card, it steals a power from it, which is even crazier. Not sure how it works, if it continues, if you move it one time and it also steals from that lane when the opponent plays there. Either way, I think this card is definitely in the double silver to gold range for me. I think it has that awesome ability for stealing power. I think it's another great card to put in either a Scream deck or, of course, with the best 1-cost card in the game right now, Silver Sable. So to me, I'm going to go ahead and give this like a double silver to gold for me. What about you, Prashaun?
Yeah, to me, I think this is a platinum card because it goes in those like Scream Kingpin decks. Especially when you're like stealing energy, you might be able to put Ajax in those decks too. But you're just bouncing cards around, and whenever you can move cards around and steal power from them, that gives you an advantage. Especially when you're playing like Polaris, Magneto. Like this is another card to just go in that shell, which I think is pretty cool. I think this is probably low key one of the better cards or most consistent cards compared to all the others. I think Galacta is very consistent, and I think this is number 2.
Okay. That's how you feel about Groot and Rocket.
I like okay. This is a silver first card that gets cut from the list you're talking about, Prashaun. I'm looking at the cards that are around it right now. You have Juggernaut, Jean Grey, Polaris, and Spider-Man as other like move cards, all at 3. And Jean Grey's not a move card, but it forces your opponent to play in a certain spot to where you can then move it away from the screen or away to the screen, there are too many 3 costs is basically what I'm saying. And sure, the deck tops out at Cannonball typically at 5, but I just do not like this overabundance of the same cost. And I would probably look at cutting Rocket and Groot first. Like, I just don't think it's enough. The effect is easy enough to dodge. Sure, you get that one move to kind of maybe snipe, because the way it works, right, is you do the move happens first before anything else, before the turn starts, and then it sees the card get played and it takes that power, right?
Right.
But you get that once, and then that makes it potentially an average of 3-4 or I guess a 3/5 because it stole a power. And I don't think that's good enough for this particular kind of deck because it doesn't do anything to leverage Scream all that much. So I wouldn't play it. It's just not very good in that deck. I don't think it's generically strong enough either. At a 3 cost, there's too much competition.
It doesn't turn a location, but it steals power. And I think this will be very clutch.
Okay, so we're back to having a 3/5 Nocturne that doesn't change the location. That's just fine. That's just fine. The thing that was so attractive about Nocturne was the 3/5 is guaranteed. Again, that 3/5 is guaranteed. Remember, this isn't a guaranteed 3/5 swing. You have to call it, have it flip into it, and then steal it, or they can just dodge it the entire time. That 3/5 is not guaranteed. It's a maybe. Nocturne was a guaranteed for that power, guaranteed move, and you can change the location. Sure, there's RNG to the location, but the math is in your favor with location changes.
I'm thinking like Juggernaut shenanigans too on a final turn. Like you've already had Rocket and Groot down. You move Rocket and Groot. You play Juggernaut. Those cards bounce.
It doesn't work because it doesn't work because they have to play it there. That doesn't count as being played there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that part of it I'll agree with you because I don't think it's a Scream deck necessarily for Rocket and Raccoon. I think this is it's a guaranteed Surfer card. Obviously, it's a movable card, and it's a 3 cost. So that's going to be the no brainer. Everybody's going to want to probably start there with that package. Affliction, sure, in some capacity is probably going to like this as like another alternative for an Ajax deck. But I think that this just is a straight up teching style 3 cost card. I think this is a plug and play card. This is something you consider like you do a Red Guardian, like you think of Cosmo, like you just I need a tech card, or I need a 3 drop. This is a card that will do that. If you're playing location restrictions because this has a movability in there, that's always a good thing to throw in. I think this finds more homes in that aspect rather than a Scream style deck, but it is probably the safest investment all month. It's not a difficult card, like from the spotlights. It's not a difficult card. It's not a build around card. It's not a RNG card. It is just look, this is what I do. Throw me in whatever, and it will fit into those decks. So I think this is if you only have 6,000 tokens or you only have 4 keys this entire month and you have to choose one spotlight to be guaranteed, I think Rocket Raccoon and Groot is that card that you should invest into because it's going to be the most diverse out of all of the other cards that come out spotlight wise.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
You do get Blob in that spotlight. So if you don't have Blob, I think that really raises it. I just think there's too much competition in the 3-drop slot, especially in a generic capacity. Generically speaking, you have Cassandra Nova, you have Copycat, you have Cosmo as a tech piece that is generic enough to fit in any deck as long as it's not completely shutting down your own game plan. Frigga is a good generic card in a lot of strategies. Right. Hope Summers, Killmonger, even Mobius in a lot of metas. Negasonic even. I just think there's so many 3 costs. I think the
meta defines it, right? Yeah, meta defines it.
But my worry is this is a type of card that just is the first cuttable card in every list that you think of in it.
It might be. It very well might be. But
that means it's still safe, though. I do like it over Nocturne, like you guys mentioned, because Nocturne definitely lost me more games than won me games. So I'll if I had to pick between those two, definitely Rock.
We'll pull up the VOD and see if it actually lost you more games than you think, or if it's that bias.
That's fair. Please, that's fair. And of course, the last card we have coming out this season is a free card. It is a Series 4 card known as Lasher. Now, this afflict an enemy card here with a negative power equal to this card's power. That is phenomenal. It's super fun. It's going to be in high voltage, one of the rewards, which I think is pretty cool. Lasher is a very unique card because now the cool thing is you can try your best or use cards like Galacta to get this card nice and buffed before you go ahead and, afflict an enemy card with this negative power equal to this own card's power. So as a 2 cost and getting this card to even a 2/5, I think is a big deal when it comes to this card. And it's an activate. So what am I even saying? You can buff this card until you feel like it's ready and say,
I was about to say, you're missing a big part here.
That's crazy.
No, being activated is really good.
How disrespectful is this card? This is a very disrespectful card.
I really like this with what's her name? Oh my god, I'm blanking her name. Nomura. Nomura sounds so much fun with this kind of card.
Yes.
Doing Lasher on the edge, Mr. Fantastic mid, Nomura mid, or something like a 4 cost on the right, like your Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider on the right lane. You have Lasher, Mr. Fantastic, Scarlet Spider, then you go to Nomura, and then Odin activate, and then activate.
Yeah. Yes,
that sounds really fun. And that actually gives you a pretty nice curve. And that third slot, Mr. Fantastic, I just thought for power output, but that could be anything you want.
Yeah, it could be the Rocket Raccoon and Groot. So let's go.
I guess.
Right?
Thank you, Tech.
You're gonna flick some damage here. Yeah, double platinum. This card is double platinum. This is probably the second best card this season. After
the move, I guess not Rocket if we're being serious, because the move aspect you're never going to use because you don't want to mess up your Nomura play if you're going with
fair. That's fair. Fine. Good call.
Yeah.
All right.
But either way,
Cosmo,
it's a great card. No matter what you say,
right.
Prashaun, how you feeling about this?
Brad, I just want to say real quick.
For sure. Like you could do so much stuff.
You can
play like a Poirier, you could play like Nakia.
Yeah.
You could have like Blue Marvel out on the board, buff it again. Like there's so much stuff you could do with this card. Even
Blue Marvel would work, yeah.
Yeah, you can figure the shit out this card too. Just figure it out all the way up. That's right. Just get a bunch.
Like you could probably plug this in the Surfer for the heck of it, and then just play a whole lane. Like this is
crazy.
Be pretty interesting.
It's crazy,
and the fact that it's a free card is pretty good too.
So you're going diamond on it.
Yeah, diamond. What's the highest? Diamond.
That's All right. What about you, Bradcifer? Go ahead. Now you can see.
Okay, it's a diamond as well because it's just such a fun card on top of that, and it's got genuine power to it. But I do want to say, you said it's Series 4.
Yes, it's Series 4 card.
It will be a Series 4.
So I both love and hate this at the same time because the Second Dinner is finally putting something in Series 4 for the first time in over a year, and. Meek was January.
Agony was 4 too, but
the event cards have all been Series 4.
Yeah.
So
okay, I do like that in the sense of people that don't pick up these cards through the free events, but I also hate the fact that that's where we're putting Series 4 cards. Like I like giving the opportunity for people that don't have time to do the events to get them in another way. That isn't the Series 5, but you're showing me that that Series 4 exists still. But yeah, it's awesome. I think Nomura is such a cool idea with it. You could even just do like simple Wong shenanigans with Nomura as well. But yeah, Ironheart, Shuri. Shuri is a little weird because it only goes to 4, so maybe not that. But Ironheart alone can help a lot. Nomura can do a lot. Anything that buffs it in general. It also, and it's not just genuine buffing. You were talking about Penny Parker and all that stuff.
I'm sitting here waiting in wings. Like, come on,
here
I need to say this.
This
is your Penny Parker card.
There's the alley hoop. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Penny Parker, man. This is like. Penny really wants this card for the Spider. The Spider being able to merge into this, and then you can move it. Like that's your turn 5 on reveal version is Lasher. Is you play the Spider onto it, and then it can move. So now it's basically you've built a stronger version of Vision. because of the affliction that gets involved in there too, because it's a total of just from those two, not any other buff. We didn't even talk about agony. Agony on 1, put this right on top of it on 2, boom, done. You don't have to do anything else. It's a 2/4.
All that stuff.
Yeah, you could.
Jeez.
Right.
Yeah,
This card is going to be very strong. Very, very strong.
Just gotta
it doesn't work. It doesn't work on 6
before you activate.
You have to activate it. Yeah,
that.
you can't play it on 6. Right. You have to play on 5. But
no. I was thinking about Zola. Getting 2 of them and then having them activate, but you could cheat Zola, I guess, on 5 and then hit them and you have 2. That sounds fun though.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing. This both can be a genuine powerful card and also can be a fun card. And that's what makes it a diamond. Even if it ends up falling flat and ends up being a tier 2 kind of card where it's like has some meta prevalence, but not one of the top cards, it's always going to be a very fun card. And that's what's called good design. And that's what we want more of. I also just wish it was, all cards were like that and all cards were easy to acquire for players. Because my biggest worry about the Marvel Rivals tie-in is, cool, maybe you get some Marvel Rival players to like try out Marvel Snap, do a card game, and I can see them advertising, you've played with them in Rivals, now play with them in Snap. And then they log in, you're like, I can't get them. I can't even acquire them. And then they uninstall the game. So that's a different thing, but still great card.
All right, perfect. So that wraps up the wonderful December season. I think we do have some cards that are going to be fun, some that might flop. Either way, it's going to be an amazing season. I cannot wait to get my hands on these cards. And yes, we do have some issues with the wonderful card acquisition, but lucky us, we don't have to worry too much about that now, do we? All right, so now on to our wonderful topic. Next, we have, speaking of Rivals and Snap, what card, pick one card that you guys feel from Snap should be in Rivals. All right, I'll go first. I would love to see Sage in Rivals. I think Sage would be an awesome card. I think should be a nice, I'll go with Duelist. And I think she'll have some awesome abilities, maybe some nice ult where she can do something cool with technology. I don't know if there's much technology cards, players in the game, but do some cool technology screens that come up and do something awesome. That would be my pick for it. I would love to see Sage in Rivals. What about you, Prashaun?
I think I would go with Leech. I think I mentioned this before. Awesome. As like a strategist, so you'll steal like health or from opponents and then just like heal your like own team. I think that would be pretty cool. Just to see like running around the screen. Like we have Jeff. We need a Leech too. We need more mutants in the game.
I love that. How about you, Bradcifer?
I'm surprised you didn't say Infinite.
I did on the last stream, but I figured let's switch it up and go with Sage this time.
Big ass tank.
Yeah, he would be a huge tank. Facts.
So, okay. If I'm going to pick a Snap character, it's Sauron. Because I could just see an effect where you turn the enemy team into dinosaurs that have a fixed amount of HP and can only do one kind of melee or something like that as like the ult. So then you just can easily team wipe or whatever. That sounds really fun. But then for both games, give me Big Wheel. I would like Big Wheel, please. The ult writes itself. It's a hilarious villain. Please give it to me.
All right. Guess, how do you feel? What's your card or your character?
I think in Rivals, I'd like to see Black Bolt. I think Black Bolt having that supersonic like attack ult that just decimates and you lose the ability, like you lose all your in-game sound for X amount of time. So it's kind of like a flashbang in that sense, kind of an effect. Like, I think that would be incredibly fun to kind of mess with, and there's that secondary tactical piece that comes from it. And I don't know, it's the first one that came to mind for me when I was like, what doesn't exist yet based on what we've had announced over the last couple of weeks. And now all 33 heroes have finally, as of today, from the time we're recording this, have now been announced. So with those in mind, I mean, I could see some Black Bolt because it's obscure enough, yet has a really unique style of gameplay that would be great for the game.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Awesome choices, guys. Yeah, and if we did pick Infinite, he'd definitely be a tank, and his ult will be just coming from over the skies and just smashing everyone.
It's a Vanguard, not
the Vanguard.
Yes, Vanguard.
Get it right.
Yeah, the Vanguard.
Let's not piss off Danny. Come on, man.
You're right. The Vanguard. I apologize. But yes, that'd be awesome if Infinite was in the game. I was hoping, but didn't happen. All right. So speaking of Rivals, it is coming out as of tomorrow of this recording, 7 p.m. Eastern for the wonderful Easterners. And the game is scheduled actually to come out on the 6th, but of course on the 5th, we got a little bit early depending on all the time zones. I know everybody in this room will be playing the game. I know myself and guests is streaming. I know Brad and Prashaun will be at that time. Nonetheless, we are super excited for this game. We cannot wait to play it. We did play in the alpha. We did play in the beta. It was a great time. The game looks for some reason, looks even better now. And with all these wonderful characters, I'm even so excited to see all these amazing skins. And we did find out about the economy today, and the pricing and everything looks so sweet right now that I am excited to go ahead and open up my wallet and say, give me all these beautiful, beautiful skins. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I don't want to compare it to Snap and the economy and everything else, but I'm excited to play Rivals tomorrow, and I hope you guys come and visit us as well. Prashaun, how do you feel about Rivals? What's your take? How many hours are you going to put in this game tomorrow? I'm
super hyped for it. That's why I rushed to Infinite and Snap. That way I don't have to worry about Snap.
I'm doing it tonight.
Season. Yes. I'm fine. I'm excited to play with everyone. I'm excited to play all these new characters because I didn't get a chance to try out like Hawkeye or Captain America. Right. And then we just revealed like Cloak and Dagger. I'm very interested in seeing Cloak and Dagger. I think that one's pretty cool, even though I think everyone's going to be like playing like Cloak and not healing with Dagger. Right. Squirrel Girl looks awesome too. So and then they're listening to everyone too on what characters they should bring in the game, which I think is very awesome as well. So hopefully we see some very unique characters that technically we don't see in Snap. We'll see them in Rivals, and then hopefully that sparks some stuff in Snap and they can bring them to Snap. So very excited to see.
All right, Bradcifer, how you feeling about Rivals?
I played an unhealthy amount of Overwatch when it first came out, from 2016 to 2019. Would hit Master in Overwatch, and I was a big Zenyatta main for the entirety of it. So I am very excited to play some Rivals. Finally scratched that itch. I did not like Overwatch 2, so I've not touched it in forever. So having a game kind of fit that mold, I cannot wait. I just got to figure out what healer or what support is the one that most fits my style. It might be Cloak and Dagger. That's kind of more like Moira in my mind, but I'm willing to give her a try. But yeah, I cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun.
I like Adam Warlock too, so definitely think about Adam Warlock. Guess, how do you feel?
I am scared shitless of this game, and for all of the right reasons, both as a player and as a content creator, because depending on how this game goes, simultaneous with however my gameplay proficiency grows with this game, it could completely transform what I do as a creator. Because if I end up really enjoying this game a lot and wanting to play this on stream a lot, because I'm a streamer first, video, producer second. And if this means I get to be on more live time because I'm playing the game more, that just is a no-brainer to me of this is what I want to play. That is as long as I don't suck. So as someone who enjoyed the alpha and the beta, had a really good time, got really good at least with Rocket. I got really, really good with Rocket, like playing pretty competitively. I'm curious to see all of these new strategists and really just become a strategist focused player and a guru. That is my goal, is to just own all of these strategists, because I will never be your Vanguard number one. I will never be the first person who's going to go, I could play Spider-Man. No, that'll never. Nope. I that's not my style of gameplay. I like sniping and I like supporting. So I'm excited for this game because it is a challenge, and I have not had that as a gamer and a content creator in a long time. So I'm really, really looking forward to this game, scared or not.
It's going to be a good time, guys. I'm pumped. I'm excited as well. Cannot wait to see you guys out there. Hope you guys come and hang out with us. You know our names. If you don't, our socials be down below in the wonderful description. Prashaun, again, thank you for coming. Bradcifer, thank you for coming. Please let the people know where they can find you. Starting with Bradcifer, where can the people find you?
It's at Bradcifer in every single form of social media, YouTube, Twitch, all that, except for TikTok. TikTok is somehow Bradcifer was taken. So that's easy enough. But yeah, everywhere else it's Bradcifer. I'm sure if you type in Bradcifer on TikTok, that will pop up as well. But yeah, Twitter, Blue Sky, all that good stuff. You can definitely follow me or check me out on YouTube. And I've been starting to stream a bit more again because I finally got a new PC again after not having one for 4 months. That was fun.
Yay.
Yes. Prashaun, where can people find you?
Same. You could just find my name, Prashaun, at everywhere. And I'm even on Blue Sky too. I noticed I had like 50 people follow me on one day and I haven't posted one thing. So I guess I'll start posting more soon there. But obviously, Marvel Snap, I'll have Pokemon stuff soon. And then, of course, I'll have my Marvel Rivals channel. So yeah, that's where you could find me.
And Prashaun.
Separate channel.
We can also be found.
Carter's on social sometimes too.
Also be found with Lacorna.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Prashaun, I can also. If you
wait a minute, Inkcast? What's wrong with y'all? I'm trying to get y'all to plug Inkcast, and
I was trying to wait for him to finish his segue for himself to get to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. My bad.
No, I didn't forget. I was finding the appropriate segue. You can find us on the Inkcast as well on YouTube with our good friend Default Dan, another Power On member. So all that good stuff.
Oh, man, that's amazing. All right, guys, I had a blast. I cannot wait to play some Rivals with you guys tomorrow. I am going to dive into some Snap right now and try to go infinite. I think I'm at 85. I'm going to play some Luna Snow. Thank you for the idea with Professor X. Did not think about that. So I'm going to have some shenanigans with that and see if I do like the card or not, but I still think it's a double silver. All right, until next time, guys, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Bradcifer was not playing. He can't be a judge for anything because he was just giving every card the 5th degree. Like, no. Yeah. No, that's not how it works. No,
it's just not a great month compared to other months. Doesn't mean they're all bad. It's just comparatively, they're just kind of
You know what? We need you back on for some more stuff. All right, guys. Thanks again for hanging out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.